Hello everybody! Welcome to another edition of Vesper's Retro Reviews! I'm Ramsis.
And I'm TheVespor.
Today we're going to continue on with our review of the Transformers. That's right, the original series, 1984. And we're deep into Season 1 now. We're going to be heading to episode number 5. We just watched it, and oh boy, have we got an episode for you here, folks.
To be fair, we can't really blame Douglas Booth for this episode. There's actually a fun story here. It's just the animators must have been high or on something.
Enough of that. Let's start our review of the episode of Roll For It. First shown on October 13th, 1984 in syndication. This was written by Douglas Booth. And Douglas, we're going to be keeping an eye on you and the other masterpieces that you have in store for us later in the line. Why is this episode called Roll For It? Why is it not called The Problem with Antimatter? That would have been a good name for this episode. Well, enough of that. The name sucks. The animation sucks. But this episode might be actually amusing. It's another Megatron that has a devious plan to take over the universe using some human-created energy source. And here we go again.
So, just like the first 3 episodes were tied together, they actually tied this episode to the previous one. The fact that Megatron is still on Cybertron, and Starscream is showing off that he's in charge, and he's going to get all the world's energy.
So I do like that this is continued from the previous episode. That's kind of a cool nod. We left off the last episode, Transport to Oblivion, and you remember, let's show the scene again. Megatron did his breakdancing, and there he goes, and he went to Cybertron. So that's where it starts. But Starscream, yeah, he's going to try to take over everything. He has a team of Seekers that are going to head to hydroelectric power generators. So the Decepticons are kind of like the Insecticons that we'll meet later on in the series. They're attracted to power plants.
This is where we see Soundwave being very uncharacteristic in this. They fly a jet through a window, and you're going, what?
The humans are always so stupid in these episodes. And they're like, golly gee, that plane sounds like it's going to land right on us, Biff, or whatever your name is. They fly right through the window, and they scream,
"Hey, those aren't jets! They're Decepticons!"
So we're already in the 5th episode, so now I guess we realize the humans are all very fully aware of what Autobots and Decepticons are. So Starscream breaks into the window, which must be the largest window in the history of power plants.
But if you actually look at the view here, it gives a perspective that the humans are huge and the generators are tiny. But the most important thing about all this is Soundwave rips his chest open and starts making energon cubes.
Why is his chest open? Doesn't he usually produce these cubes through the rectangle and it makes a beam of light and then the cubes are formed?
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, this episode has so many technical errors, and after this, we're like, Optimus is already on his way here with a giant team of Autobots?
They're already on the road, and Optimus is like, here we are, let's go get it. It's like, how'd they drive there so fast? They're not flying, they're driving from the base.
Remember, they're not actually semi-trucks and cars. They're robots in disguise, so of course I'm gonna probably hit like Mach 3 on the ground.
Yeah, so kind of like Super Pursuit mode.
Obviously, Super Pursuit mode.
Yeah, that explains it all, actually. So the Autobots arrive, and all hell breaks loose. Starscream is now all arrogant, and he's trying to take on Optimus Prime. So it's Cliffjumper and Brawn are the first to really go up against the Decepticons. Cliffjumper is as mouthy as you remember him in the previous 4 episodes. He's like, I'll take them all on. And pretty much Thundercracker just picks up a steel beam and bats him around. And then Optimus goes up to Starscream.
Try picking on a mechanism your own size.
It's kind of an awkward, funny battle. Doesn't really go anywhere.
The Decepticons could not win. There was 3 plus Ravage. I mean, this is not exactly a fair fight. And Soundwave, being my favorite Decepticon, goes,
Decepticons retreat.
Which is usually not his call. Usually it's either Starscream or Megatron, but then he's completely out of character. I mean, don't forget, he literally ripped his chest open to make an energon cube.
Right, and he's all discombobulated in this episode. It's like a U-turn out the exit, then he's going around the corner, he goes through the fence, his arms are swinging around frantically, while Prowl and Blue Streak are chasing after him. It's the most awkward thing ever, and then he flips into the air, transforms, and then gets onto Starscream as his tape deck.
That absolutely makes no sense, folks. Soundwave can fly. Why did he run around like, wow? But after this wonderful failed attempt, it's time for us to find out what happened to Megatron.
So Megatron is still in Cybertron. Shockwave's very happy. He finally has someone to talk to. He's keeping him a lot of company, but unfortunately, Megatron can't keep Earth under control of Starscream because Starscream's an idiot and he'll mess up everything. And Shockwave pushes a few buttons, and there you go. We have a satellite view of Earth, which I find is amazing that a computer on Cybertron can pick up the feed on Earth. That, you know how long that must take and how hard the feed must be to get it, but he pushed a few buttons and there it is. Starscream and Thundercracker are flying along. They're all beat up because this is after the battle and they look horrible. And they're drawn very badly, by the way.
Well, if you actually look there, it almost looks like they just copied and pasted Starscream and made another one of it.
Yes, exactly. Megatron has the feed and he calls Starscream directly from Cybertron, which again I think is amazing.
The comic's not the problem. It's the fact they literally can single in on them flying away.
I think that's amazing. So Megatron has got to get back to Earth. In the last episode, Shockwave was screaming he had no energy. Now all of a sudden, they're fine. He's going to push a button. The space bridge is going to open up. It's like it's working perfectly. I'm like, what happened to the lack of energy? Did Megatron bring some with him?
Obviously, Ramses, it was because Megatron brought that Chad energy with him.
So yeah, Megatron's like, I got to get back to Earth. This is ridiculous. I'll meet you guys somewhere. He mentioned some ridiculous location. He's going to meet Starscream in 5 million astroseconds, however long an astrosecond is.
Just if you learned from the previous episode, they keep introducing new units of time that make 0 sense.
Astroseconds, alright. So 5 million astroseconds, carry the 5 divided by... Well, never mind. He'll be there in 5 minutes, because that's pretty much how long it takes. That whole situation for the end of the last episode means nothing, because he just hopped right back into it and was back on Earth instantly. So there you go, that solves that whole problem. And this is going to be interesting, because we're going to meet a brand new character, who's going to have a very big role in the first 2 seasons of the series. And it is...
Chip Chase, that's right. This is Spike Witwicky's best friend. And you're going to find out very quickly there's more than meets the eye to this character.
Oh, that's right. And, you know, he's your stereotypical 80s token character. You know, he's in a wheelchair, but he's a genius.
So, what we have here is a wonderful, stereotypical secret laboratory located in the middle of the desert.
Yes, and this doctor, it's Alcazar, is creating antimatter. And I'm like, wow, in the middle of the desert, some rando doctor working on a antimatter formula. I mean, you would think that this would be a little more of a big deal here. Like, this is a big breakthrough. So Chase and Spike and Bumblebee all go to meet Dr. Alcazar.
Did Bumblebee just shrink walking into the lab?
Apparently he did. This is another one of those fun animation things. He looks weird, he looks awkward, his head looks tiny, and he's ducking under Chip and Spike. So yeah, he shrunk.
And as you can see here, as they walk into that lab, Reflector's sitting there.
Reflector doesn't get much use in the series, but whenever he does, it's always fun. 3 of them form a camera, so they're actually using their camera form here. And what are they doing? Oh, he's watching for this code. We had to mention when Reflector actually gets usage in the episode, because you barely see him having a line. And the code numbers turn out to be 295. So I'm like, oh, okay, they got the code. And then Reflector's all like, ah ha ha, we got the code. And they fly off victoriously.
Strangely, Reflector sounds like Starscream with different reverb.
The antimatter formula is gonna be a piece of oil cake.
Reflector is such a minor character, I can't stress this enough, that it didn't even matter. This is the one job he got, and he's so excited. I finally got to do something! But then the question has to be asked, why did they just bash through the wall right next to it? And Dr. Alcazar is so excited to give Chip a disc. Now, we don't understand why he's trusting Chip with the antimatter. Well, I don't know, the whole thing's strange. He has a giant lab, and he's the only doctor in the whole entire place.
Well, yeah, and they imply that Chip is a genius. Is he a computer genius? Did he make this supercomputer? Is he an expert in antimatter? Just what type of genius is he?
They don't really state. I guess he's just like a super nerd.
And you know what? No, this is the 80s because look at that. All the information to create antimatter can be contained on one 5-inch floppy diskette.
Yeah, and the doctor is so happy to give Chase this. Chase, with this disc, you'll be able to interact with my computer with me. And crying, he's like, oh, this is the best thing ever happened. Thank you, thank you. I'm gonna run home and try it out right now.
A lot of people doesn't remember how much information can a 5-inch floppy diskette hold.
I don't know, let me think. Well, if you played the Commodore 64 and you played one of those brilliant games, not much.
1.2 megabytes of data.
And let's look at this gigantic computer that has a lot of weird readings on it, by the way. I guess you can do a lot of math problems on this thing. So one floppy disk is all that's needed to interact perfectly with this computer. I think that's amazing.
Hey, it worked in Alien.
And War Games, too. I mean, we already have to believe the Doctor's working by himself on antimatter, so, you know, what's a floppy disk amongst an inventor of antimatter at this point?
I mean, after all, there are giant walking robots around with superior technology.
That's right, so this is nothing to them. Megatron is already interested in the antimatter form. Remember, he's become very obsessed with antimatter throughout this whole episode. I mean, that's another point we should bring up here. Why is Megatron so obsessed over antimatter? You would think that the Decepticons would already have this technology, being they've been fighting and evolving for 4 million years at least. So you would think they would already be well beyond antimatter energies.
Oh, absolutely. Remember, in the pilot series, they got from Cybertron to Earth in the matter of like 5 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. So you'd think antimatter wouldn't be a big deal, but Megatron's become obsessed with it. So he's already on the way to the lab that Bumblebee, Chip, and Spike are driving away from, and Megatron sends Laserbeak after them. Why? We don't know. Bumblebee has zero purpose at all in this. All you need to do is head to the lab and get the formula. So Laserbeak and Ravage seem to be doing all the grunt work in this episode. And now it's Laserbeak's turn to try to stop Bumblebee, who has 2 humans in the car.
After Laserbeak attacks them, they head to an underground parking garage, which Laserbeak could have easily followed them in there because Laserbeak is even smaller than Bumblebee, so I'm like, how's this help them? But here's the best part. Look at that wonderfully intact building, and then bam!
Wow, instantly destroyed without anything even hitting it.
Why didn't you just keep firing a few more times? Because look at the level of destruction here. He could have brought down the entire building on them.
And then just flies away. So what was the point of this?
So, after this wonderful failed attack, Laserbeak comes back and uses his magical mental powers to tell Megatron that he couldn't stop him by himself. And you're looking here, well, there's 4 other people you could have sent. They're going to have to attack the lab now. This is one of the funniest scenes in the entire episode.
Chip rolls, he's all excited to try out the disc, and then Spike gets a little strange here because the door closes and Spike starts rambling on. Don't worry, we'll back up everything. Don't worry, we'll talk to Blue Streak right now. And Bumblebee's already been driving for about 2 seconds here, so they're already down the road.
Prime's already on his way there, and Bumblebee's gonna call Blue Streak and prowl.
And look at it. His head, folks, is pointed right towards where Chip should be. He's like he's talking out the window. Well, here's the thing, I have a problem with this. He has the disc so he can contact the computer, which then has to contact Dr. Alcazar. Why can't he just pick up the phone and call him? Because obviously they're on a first-name basis here.
Yes, it works with the episode's dynamics, but it makes no sense logically. As a super genius, Chip's first reaction would be, I better call right now and warn him.
At least it doesn't waste any time here, because we soon find out why Prowl and them can't help. And that is because they followed the Seekers.
Starscream and Thundercracker need repairs. That's why they couldn't meet up with Megatron right away. It's like, yeah, where do Seekers go for repair? And it's an airport hangar.
Well, now wait a second, Ramses. Are you telling me that these advanced, mass-shifting, transforming robots can use the materials of this planet?
It looks that way. They were just ripping wings off and popping them onto their arms. I'm like, wow. So you're interchangeable with Earth vehicles too. That's great. Prowl and Blue Streak show up, and they're both like cocky. Oh, we'll get them. There's nothing they can do about it. So they shoot at a wing in Thundercracker's hand, by the way, and the whole thing evaporates. It's totally gone, and Thundercracker's so shocked.
I understand why Prowl and Blue Streak are confident, but they keep forgetting the one, the only, the main man, Soundwave is here, which means you're not facing 3. There's 5 Cassetticons that Soundwave could possibly deploy, and you have Starscream, Thundercracker. You're taking on a small army of Decepticons by yourself, and you're actually thinking you're going to win?
Yes, because somehow the Decepticons always bungle up everything. Now, Soundwave is going to use Ravage, and that's it. And Ravage is going to have some size-changing abilities here.
But the nice thing is, apparently they can shoot, and what the heck just happened, Ramses?
Prowl got disabled because all 3 shot him at once, and he's now out for good. Ravage grew into the size of Blue Streak and pounced him. And now we're going to go back to the lab in the middle of the desert, which has beautiful greenery, a very nice shrubbery here. Reflector enters the code. And
wait a second, Ramses. That's not the same code we saw before.
It was 295, if I remember. Now it's 472. How's that possible?
Why is this small little door stopping the Decepticons when they've shown they can blast their way out of anything?
So yeah, we're so worried about, oh my god, we need the entry code. How will we ever get in? Oh no. How about you do what you've done all the time and just bash your way in, Decepticons? And now while that's all happening, Chip is on his computer typing away, and I guess he can't decide what college to go to, because on his wall here he has a banner for Pierce, USC, and Val University. You think a super genius like that was just going to go to like the best college in the whole country. So he's typing away on this super 1984 computer here, and oh boy, it looks like a...
Well, I don't know what it is because the monitor is actually combined with the keyboard.
Oh, that was very high tech.
Well, we can tell it's not a Commodore 64 because it's too high tech. We have a radar screen for some reason and 2 diskettes there. Obviously, the 3.5-inch floppy disk.
Well, he has a microphone, so we're also talking to somebody on it. Chip is now interacting with the supercomputer here, the antimatter lab, we'll call it.
But don't forget, folks, you did see that phone that was literally sitting right next to him.
So now Chip has just connected to the supercomputer the second the Decepticons make their attack. So put this all into place now.
And by the way, folks, they literally just blasted their way in finally.
So then what was with all that super code and we can't break in and everything? If they were going to break in anyway, break in.
And look at it, they're not much bigger than, like, Bumblebee. They shrunk too.
Wow, yeah, one's getting smaller and smaller this episode. So Megatron, Reflector, and Rumble all break in. The Doctor's like, oh no, Decepticon! And he's gonna do what he thinks is the right thing to do. He's gonna erase the formula, but not before he sends the entire formula with the direct connection, the phone line, I guess. He's sending it directly to Chip. I wonder how long it took to download this thing, but the formula is not very complicated. They show it. Alright, so how does Megatron know what happened? The Doctor didn't tell him what he just did.
That's right. Megatron used the Force. He touched the computer and found out that it was uploaded to another human, though they don't know who. So Megatron, being the good guy he is, as I've always said, lets the Doctor go because he's no longer of use to them.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me. By the way, that's it. We never see this Doctor character ever again in the rest of the series. That was it.
After all, folks, the antimatter formula is so advanced to the Decepticons who faked their own death and built an underwater city in less than 2 months' time is like, oh, we need that antimatter. I don't know how it works, but I know of it, and it's some strong stuff.
Antimatter. Like I said, he's obsessed with his antimatters. Now we come back, and Ravage is back to normal size again.
So, after getting thrown off, he runs away, but don't forget that Autobot that was shot 3 times
Prowl
shoots Ravage once, and holy crap, is he going to be incinerated.
Oh yeah, he is charcoal, he is electrocuted, he is
mildly inconvenienced, because he runs and hides behind Soundwave.
And Soundwave is mad. He's like, you don't touch my Decepticon, and he blams Prowl so badly with the purple radiation, and he goes down. Prowl's out for good, and that's it. Blue Streak tries to hold it off, but it's not looking good. So what's Prowl gonna do? Well, if only I could reach a computer. What computer? A random computer. So he's taking the biggest shot in the dark, just gonna zap into the waves above. His 2 antennas are gonna grow from his ears here, and he's just gonna like send out waves. Please, I need help.
Yes, as you can see here, it goes up the wall, through the power lines, and straight to Chip.
And then suddenly, Chip's computer becomes a supercomputer like Teletran 1, which is ridiculous. So now we know why he has a microphone. In case any Transformer ever calls him, he has the microphone ready to pick up. So he's having a perfectly clear and normal conversation with Prowl, who's who knows how far away. I'll just type some things here and I'll take care of it, because Prowl's complaining my motor systems aren't working, my battle circuits are broken, I need help, I won't be able to fight.
And don't forget, folks, he's doing this on what looks to be the equivalent of a advanced Commodore computer.
Right, all of a sudden Starscream and Soundwave's image, perfectly clear by the way, shows up on his computer screen. It's a good thing he went for the upgrades on his computer.
You know, I'm wondering, is this how they got inspired to make Headmasters later on?
An organic being working with the Transformers in perfect combination, yes. But we'll get there eventually. Right now, let's see how this nonsense, and I'm going to use the word nonsense, plays out, because we're supposed to believe now that Chip is going to start typing on his computer. He's going to have the eyes of Prowl through the screen of his computer, and is going to be able to type out all the commands that Prowl has to do in perfect synchronization.
Yeah, because look at it. He's not doing, you know, ASDW, forward, back, and mouse. No, he's literally commanding, do this funky monkey jumpy thing, and then he's like, well, you're pretty good at this. I'm like, you are lucky you found the one human on the entire planet in the 1980s who could literally write alien code to get you to do something.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine doing that, typing on a keyboard. Now flip here, now move right, now move left, now on your hands, now flip over here, now do this, stand on your knees, all by typing on a keyboard. That's amazing. And then Chip flies him over to one of the jets that wasn't touched by the Decepticons.
That's right, because as we all know, alien technology is absolutely inferior to human technology. He gets the wonderful idea, break into this jet, turn it around, and fire missiles at it, which seems like a horrible idea.
So they duck at least, so that's good.
Notice they're already on the ground before it even fires. Wait a second, did you see that? He fired all 3 missiles off of it, it reloaded, it fired again.
So again, the Decepticons' favorite line is...
Let's get out of here!
Soundwave retrieves Ravage and they all run away again. I'm seeing a running theme here where they just keep getting chased away every time by some silly inconvenience.
Why do 3 Decepticons have to go get it from one kid?
I love how Chip's house is now the center of the universe because everyone gets there.
Well, here's the next question. Why are they landing in their jet force when in every other scene they just switch before they land because they don't need a runway?
I know, wasn't that nice? Starscream does a nice landing on his airplane mode. I'm like, when was Starscream so proper and Earth-like? Oh, I better make a formal landing on the roadway.
I also want to point this out, too. How wide is this 2-lane road? This road's obviously like 60 feet wide. Has to be.
Widest street in America, I'll tell you. So now, here we go again, where Soundwave is going to push the eject button, and now we're going to get Ravage again. So I'm seeing a running theme here. Every time you need someone, Ravage, 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 Ravage. So Ravage is now going to retrieve Chip, who has the formula. And a lot of funny things are going to go on in this scene. This is another one of those funny, what is going on here scenes.
Chip, being smart, goes, all right, I'm going to memorize this wonderful formula because I just heard Ravage break through my front door, and in literally the span of like 30 seconds, he's memorized the entire antimatter formula. He decides that he can easily rip that 5-inch floppy disk in half. Now, folks, I don't know if you know this, but those things were tough, and it took more than just basic upper body strength to rip these things apart.
Yeah, he does like a little tug and the whole thing just crumples apart. Like if discs were made out of tissue paper, they wouldn't be very effective. Discs were firm and sturdy. You can bat people with them. You can flop them around. You can toss them. They wouldn't break.
He grabs it by the edges and pulls it apart. He doesn't even grip the wonderful hole in the center to actually get traction. This kid's a monster, all right? You just can't do this.
So now Ravage is going to go after Chip. That's what we have to know.
After he breaks through that door, notice how he gets bigger, as in he couldn't fit through that door to begin with.
Yeah, Ravage keeps on growing and shrinking. He must have like the Astro Train curse where he keeps on changing his size.
So remember how he bust in through the door?
Fine.
It fixed itself, so instead of breaking through it, he grabs the wheelchair and uses a battering ram to break through the window, which should have cut Chip to shreds. And he deposits him back in the storage compartment of Starscream? What?
Yeah, why not just put him in the cockpit? So he's being stored like luggage in the back of the plane area.
But here's the best part of all of this. Now we have Dr. Claw entering the scene.
Excellent, Ravage.
Did you hear that, folks? Do you want to hear it one more time, folks?
Excellent, Ravage.
As you see, Dr. Claw is right there with us. And here's the best part to emphasize how big this street is. Look at that!
Wow, you can fit a lot more jets than just Starscream and Thundercracker.
Back in the 80s, our streets were built big enough so we can launch entire air forces off of.
So we're going to get a very zoomed out, like, bird's eye view of the Autobots on the highway. And it's a very brief moment, but Bumblebee and Spike are meeting up with Optimus on the highway. And you have a whole convoy of Autobots driving next to and behind Optimus. And it's very hard to tell who a lot of these characters are.
But we want to say this one thing.
And that is, 4 cars back, Ratchet is clearly, very clear, there's no other white vans in the whole Autobot army, is very clearly with the deployment team here heading towards the lab to stop the Decepticons.
And we'll get back to that in a moment.
So Bumblebee merges onto the highway. He's meeting back up with Optimus.
Oh, wait a second, Ramses. Don't go too far. What just happened?
It looks like Spike had
He dyed his hair.
and he's riding along in the passenger seat. He's no longer good enough to be in the driver's seat anymore.
And what happened to his hard hat? Because he's been wearing his hard hat the entire time.
I don't know. I guess he really was a blonde all along. Who knew? So they're all heading back there. They realize what happened to Chip. Chip's been kidnapped, so now they're all going to head there to stop him. Starscream's carrying everyone in. Now they don't care about the security anymore.
I do love this scene where Starscream's like,
If you try anything stupid, your little friend is doomed. And even if they don't, you're doomed.
It makes no sense. They haven't gotten the information out of him yet. You destroy him and the antimatter formula is gone. So that's a blank threat, but it's very funny. And I do like that the Decepticons sometimes remember they're supposed to be the bad guys. They forget a lot in these episodes.
I mean, they portray themselves so well as good guys at times. After hearing this, Optimus transforms, tells everybody to transform and to come here. I got myself a plan.
Who do we have standing next to Hound and Optimus here? I want it noted for posterity's purposes.
Why, yes, that would be Ratchet.
That's right. Remember, folks, Ratchet is standing next to Hound. We have the proof right here. So now, Soundwave already has Chip held captive. And what is he doing?
He is glowing purple and trying to read his mind. As you can see, Soundwave has this language come up on his chest, and he's like, hey, I downloaded his brain. I'm like, oh god, when they have this ability? Ramses, wait, stop! Look at this. What just happened to Megatron? Did his, helmet merge with his head?
But Megatron's having a bad day here. This is terrible. Maybe going to that space bridge warped his face or something? I don't know.
Hey, he's wearing his big boy pants now. Look at that.
His upper body shrunk and his waist took over his whole body here. This is amazing. Rumble is on guard duty outside, which makes no sense. So Mirage and Hound are going to volunteer to do this wacky comedy routine where they're going to sneak into the base. And again, this all makes no sense because it's so stupid. But there's a lot of stupid moments in this episode, let's be honest. So Hound's going to disguise himself as a boulder, and Mirage is going to walk in invisible. And Rumble's standing up there on the overhang of the entrance to the lab, and he's like, hey, something weird is going on here.
Yeah, there's a giant boulder rolling right towards you, because that's what he decides to disguise himself as. And now we have some nice snarky commentary going on about where Rumble's doubting his senses.
There's no one here. I must have static in my rectifiers.
Now that's the smartest thing you've said all day.
Really? Hey, what's going on?
He's having this wonderful conversation with the invisible Mirage, who has left giant footprints that you can see. I guess I just won't notice Spike, who's literally kicking me upside the head as he's flown over by Bumblebee to infiltrate the secret lab.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous what's going on here. And what is the point of the disguise if you're going to turn the disguise off before you're actually inside of the laboratory? So they undo their disguises outside the lab while Rumble's looking like an idiot over there, and then they run in afterwards. Wouldn't it have been more logical to sneak in first, then turn the disguise off?
Ramses, there's a reason this war has been going on for millions of years, and we're seeing it right before us.
Yeah, the biggest incompetence I've ever seen. So now, finally, Megatron's going to get a plan to work here, because, usually we see this stuff, and Megatron's plans are ridiculous, and they never work. He got the formula from Chip's head, and he wanted Chip disposed of, by the way. He made it very clear, dispose of him, I got the formula. Chip is still sitting there, by the way, while this is going on. So he activates the device, the whole thing glows, and there you go. We got the antimatter has been activated.
Well, I mean, suddenly Megatron just remembered that he has to be the bad guy finally. This is where, if you know anything about science, you know that antimatter does not work like this. If antimatter comes in contact with matter, it causes an immediate explosion. Therefore, if antimatter were to touch any matter, like as you see here when it shoots out and goes straight to the energon, this explosion would be so magnificent that it would be bigger than the biggest nuclear bomb on the planet. Matter of fact, there might not even be a planet left after this.
Well, it's too late. They're putting the antimatter into these energon cubes, and that's it. We're creating antimatter energon cubes.
Yeah, exactly. And look, they're doing it through a tube, which makes even less sense.
And now Megatron's finally remembering, oh yeah, I didn't dispose of Chip. I should have probably done that. And Thundercracker's like, I'll take care of this. And that's exactly when the Autobots show up. So thank goodness Chip was about to be disposed of.
And guess how the Autobots enter, folks? They enter with holograms.
Yes, it's another very weird thing. Because you think by now, after millions of years, Megatron would realize Hound has this ability. I'm sure he's used it many times during the war. So this makes no sense that Megatron actually is fooled that there's that many Hounds standing there. He should know it's a hologram. He's going to destroy something in the back of the lab. But here we go. Bumblebee, who flew in earlier, he's going to be walking down casually. Again, he's as big as Spike, so he shrunk down to 5 feet again, or 4 feet, however big Spike is.
And those simple stairs are able to hold his weight, folks.
He's a Volkswagen walking on 2 feet.
So he has to be at least over 1,000 pounds. Those steps should be went crunch.
Yeah, exactly. And they're walking in, and like, oh, hi, everybody, here we are. Bumblebee's going to rescue Chip because he feels bad, I guess.
And Spike helped by lifting up a wonderful wheelchair.
So Mirage finally shows up again. He went back to invisible. He shoots the gun out of his hand. Again, this all makes no sense because Starscream's gun is usually mounted on his shoulder. He's not holding it like that.
And why does Mirage have to decloak to shoot? Because in the past, he doesn't have to do that.
Nope, never did.
All right, now, folks, if you notice something, unless you're like a jet or something with an actual compartment, you can't necessarily transform around the people. Not only does he do that, he transforms into a mini, small, teeny, tiny Volkswagen that these two should not be able to fit into.
Let's haul cylinders!
And he's Herbie the Love Bug now. He's speeding away, he's doing wheelies, and he just goes right up the stairs. But if that wasn't bad enough, we have Mirage and Hound in their vehicle forms rolling up the stairs as if it was nothing. This is a lab in the middle of the desert. We have racetrack-sized hallways that race cars, Jeeps, and Volkswagens are easily able to speed through. This is amazing.
Wait a second. They jumped through the window on like the 5th floor. The window broke, but it didn't break, as you can see here, because it's still in one piece.
We have so many different elements all falling into place here. I think as a kid, I would be very excited by this. So I do want to say that fact.
Oh, this is obviously a very good episode. I mean, there's a lot going on here, and they're not treating the kids as being dumb, because you can follow it all in the logic of this world, but as adults, we look at it and go, what the heck just happened here?
So now Optimus say, that's it, it's my turn now, and he's gonna run pretty much right over Rumble,
who just stands there is like, I don't think I'll get out of the way. Maybe he thinks his sensors are malfunctioning again.
I don't know.
So, as Optimus gets in there, he shows his master plan, which is to open up his hatch and let out the Autobots.
Yeah, and the odds all run in, but Megatron's ready now. So he has these new antimatter cubes that he can't wait to throw at the Autobots, and not realizing how stupid an idea this actually is.
Now here's the fun part, folks. Sunstreaker's like, we gotta stop them before they get the Energon, and they haven't broken through the walls yet, as you can just see here as they just break, and he's like, you're too late, and they're like, what?
Oh, Ratchet's here. Alright, good. See, so remember that, folks. We're gonna keep mentioning Ratchet is here. Ratchet is here. So Megatron is ready to try out his new antimatter cube.
Wait a second, remember how I told you about how powerful these things are? Watch this, folks.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. That was Transformers. They all died in this explosion. And now we'll go to a quick commercial break, and we'll see what happened in the wreckage of the lab.
Oh, absolutely. I guess the surviving Autobots are going to come and find the remains and rebuild them. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
it's terrible.
for the next episode...
I don't even know why we're bothering. Whoever's left, that's it for the war.
We now return to the Transformers.
Alright, so now let's look at the damage here. This is probably going to be... The whole lab's probably going to be destroyed. There's going to be nothing left. There's going to be metal melted everywhere. And what?
There's smoke and flames coming out of it, and that's
it? The walls are safe. There's just some orange and reddish smoke coming out of some windows.
Megatron must have greatly overestimated the power of antimatter, because what we saw and what we got are two entirely different things.
He probably thought, this is the greatest weapon ever. I'll destroy all of you. I don't care if I destroy myself. This is what happens when you trust a human scientist working alone in the desert. Formula probably was flawed. It probably didn't work right, because that was not an antimatter explosion, folks.
And here's the best part. Look, after that major explosion, they're just walking out casually. Decepticons, they had to obviously be obliterated, right?
Wrong.
And Ironhide looks like a combination of Cliff Jumper and Ironhide.
So yes, they all moan and groan, and they're coughing. And now, this is going to become a common occurrence. Whenever there's fire or smoke, the Transformers do cough. And I'm not going to take part of that debate, but there is a debate. There's no reason why Transformers, who are robots, should have oxygen and lungs and be coughing. Should they be coughing or not? I don't know. That's up to you guys to decide.
They're damaged, as you can see by the windows being cracked. If that's the only damage they took from an antimatter explosion, how the hell did Megatron in the movie kill so many Autobots?
I don't know. That was an antimatter explosion, and all it did was break their windshield. That was it. All right, so let's head back to base here.
Oh, no,
there's Ratchet.
Oh, look, he survived. Not a single window
And
is
he's
cracked.
in perfect condition. Well, all right, so Ratchet is driving back with them. He's in fine condition. I guess that's why he's our doctor.
So now we're going to go back and look at the remains. No, wait. They're fine? They were closer to the explosion than the daggone Autobots were.
They're in perfect condition, all the Decepticons. So what was this? An Autobot-only damaging bomb? Is that what this was?
That's what it looks like. The Energon's still intact. That level of explosion should have caused
a chain reaction that would have affected all of them, yes.
There should have been nothing left, folks, or these are all antimatter cubes.
Tiny antimatter cube exploded and caused the whole lab to explode, but now the lab is fine, the cubes are fine, and the Autobots just moaned and groaned and walked away, not even checking if the Decepticons are all right while a whole stack of antimatter cubes are still there. Is that what you're telling me?
Yep.
This makes no sense.
Of course it doesn't.
Let's see what happens back at base here.
Hey,
And,
wait a second.
minute, how's that possible? So they arrive back at base, and Ratchet and Sparkplug are already standing there in shock at all the damaged Autobots who arrived. So how does this make any sense now?
I don't know, but I tell you what, if you're an Autobot, it may suck being an Autobot because the Decepticons apparently are superior in every way, but they have the better doctors because he can be everywhere at once.
I'll tell you, Ratchet's with the battle and then teleports back to base and then forgets that he was with them the whole time? What is going on here?
I don't know. All I do know is that the damage showed to them, they should honestly be calling Safe Light Repair.
This customer had auto glass damage, but he was busy working from home. So he scheduled with SafeLight in just a few clicks. We came to his house. Then we got to work. We replaced his windshield and installed new wipers to protect his new glass. That's service on your time. Schedule now.
Safe Light Repair, Safe Light Replace.
Yeah, exactly. They all have broken windshield, but now all their windshields are fine, by the way, when they get back to the base.
As I said, Ratchet's the man. He just took care of it. They just appeared and they were fixed.
So now Wheeljack, don't forget, is the wacky inventor, the crazy guy. He's going to come up with, all right, this gives me a great idea. And it's another one of those 80s tropes where they do the here's my plan, and then they fade out and you never hear what the plan is until it's executed. And now back to the Decepticons. They're loading up all the jets with the antimatter cubes. So I guess they won. Yeah, so the Decepticons won. They're all happy. So Starscream is being loaded and he's standing next to Megatron.
Yes. So as you can see here, this episode does not disappoint up to the very end. And the best part is that, Megatron must absolutely despise Starscream because he loaded him up with the most dangerous explosive on the planet at the time.
And don't forget, Megatron's now going to take care of the Autobots. He has the antimatter. He's going to use it. And he takes off like Mary Poppins here.
I love the fact that this is the one time there's actually smoke coming out of their feet.
Because now that Megatron has this antimatter power, he wants to finish off the Autobots. He's gotten very cocky, but he forgets who he works with, and we'll show you what happens.
But I also want to point out something too, Megatron. You threw that cube and broke some windshields. Didn't really do much.
And Sunstreak and Sideswipe, who are supposed to be brothers, by the way. They keep calling themselves brothers. And they're going to be the first to take care of them by flying. Because don't forget, in the early days, Autobots easily were able to fly, so they still can in this episode. And they're going to fly up to meet the jets, and they're going to do some stunt show work here by holding onto the back fins and try to direct them awkwardly. And don't forget, the planes took off in robot form, and now they're showing up in plane form.
And if nothing else, they do at least prove that the Seekers are somewhat competent. Not as competent as Soundwave, but...
somewhat. And they both get knocked off by Starscream. We don't know where Sunstreaker came from, but he's already flying on his parachute, and Sideswipe joins him. So now the battle's going to start. This is the last battle of the episode. We finally made it, folks. I know it's been a long trip here. Megatron's master plan is going to go into effect. The Decepticons are going to draw the Autobots out. Megatron's going to land like a god here.
Yeah, no, I love it. You can actually see them with the cell frame just going, taking their fingers, starting at the top and just dragging him down.
And now Megatron's gloating. He thinks this is the best idea he's ever had. Thundercracker's going to give him some of these dark antimatter cubes here. And Megatron's pretty much just going to be like, let me just shove this into me here.
This is actually kind of amusing. I just absorbed them. Now I have the power of the antimatter gun.
I'm the antimatter gun now. And this is going to be another let's show off the toy. Because remember, everybody, Megatron doesn't transform much, but when he does, it's kind of a cool moment because no one really gets to see him in the pistol form. Again, don't forget, this is a toy commercial, and this is going to sell the toy very well. This gun looks awesome. But he's an antimatter gun. Megatron has lost all of his mental capacity because he only wants Starscream to shoot him at the Autobots and destroy him.
Now, here's the thing that I don't get. Why does he always go to Starscream?
I don't know. Starscream is the most incompetent idiot. You go to Soundwave if you want things done right, but he always goes to Starscream, and Starscream never hits anybody. He's like, I have the power. I have the antimatter gun. He's not even calling it Megatron anymore. He's calling it the antimatter gun, and he's blamming it, but he doesn't hit anybody.
But you know what he does do? He blew Hound away, and looks like he obliterated Jazz.
And Starscream can't hit anybody. So why did he go to Starscream? I don't know. Starscream fired like 20 shots there, and all it did was hit rocks in front of the Autobots.
Now here's the best part. Apparently, we now see what Wheeljack's super plan is, and that's to give Spike a rivet gun. Before we see how he's going to use this rivet gun, we see that they've set up a trap for Starscream to get rid of it. They have Brawn throw Optimus in his truck form?
Yeah, pretty much. So he's like, oh my god, the gun! Not Megatron again. The gun goes flying out of his hand, and it winds up in Skywarp's hands.
And this is where we see what the rivet gun's going to do to a Decepticon. Now remember, folks, Decepticons are in awe of human technology, so is this going to rip his leg off?
Mildly annoy him and be like a mosquito biting someone, pretty much?
Apparently so, but this does distract him. But this allows Chip to sneak up on him and attach a device.
And this was Wheeljack's great plan. So they knew, gee, Megatron's probably going to show up with some antimatter power, so we better have something to control one of them so that they can't fire the gun. Intelligent One now has full control of Skywarp, can't control himself. He's all, oh my god, what's going on here? I can't move, I have no control. Megatron's like, you idiot. And Wheeljack's all gloating, ha ha ha, that was my master plan all along. Just shoot his own troops now, Skywarp. The whole thing's just so stupid. And then Megatron finally remembers he's Megatron and wakes up.
He takes his top off to reveal that apparently the top part of his torso is Energon.
Oh, I'm unstable. Oh, and he had more than 2 cubes, even though he only put 2 cubes in. Suddenly he has like a...
He has stacks of cubes,
stacks
folks. Remember,
of
this is the animation for the stacks. So he literally shoved in 15 cubes in his chest.
And notice how it's a mild explosion. Remember that one tiny cube almost sort of kind of destroyed the lab? 15 in the air. They all blam it at the Autobots, and it's just a mild poof in the air, and that's the end of it.
Now they're hurt, and the Autobots are left absolutely fine, which makes no sense.
Well, anyway, that's how it all ends here. So Decepticons do their famous line of...
Decepticons, Retreat! Retreat!
This was a horrible plan for many reasons. The explosion knocked them out. They're all running away.
Chip, you're our BFF now because you can put things on people's legs. You're great. And you're very good at video games. Even Bumblebee agrees. And Optimus is like,
We're proud to have you as our friend.
And then Megatron's all like,
One small boy came between me and mastery of the universe.
now here's the thing that I think's kind of funny too. Notice you have Laserbeak and Rumble flying behind him. I guess that Soundwave was so ticked off at them that he's like,
you guys are flying home. I'm not taking you guys home. And that's the end of Roll For It. A very ridiculous episode. We'll let Vespor, our leader, have his say. What did you think of the episode? Roll For It.
I have to say that of all the episodes that we've seen so far and reviewed on this channel, this one so far has the most errors and just is a train wreck to watch. But I will give credit. In this episode, even though they do a lot of strange things, you can still follow the story, still enjoy it. I loved it. I was laughing at all the errors and everything there because in this type of thing, you don't take it seriously. There's transforming robots. But you have to sit and go, man, whoever animated this, you just didn't care at this point, did you? This is actually a very well thought out story. Not so well executed, but I'm still going to give it a good solid 3 stars. This is definitely above average. It's fun, but there's just so many scene shifts like in the second episode. It gets annoying. I hate when it goes da-da-da and you're like in new scenes every like 15-20 seconds. It's getting annoying.
It's a very amusing episode for the wrong reasons, of course. It's not supposed to be funny, but watching it as an adult, you realize how much they messed up. You have some of the strangest animation errors. You have some of the vocal errors. Like, yeah, Megatron's face is shrinking and looking bird-like as he's talking there. It's very strange. Soundwave sounds like Dr. Claus suddenly. And you have so many weird uses of what the antimatter does, what the antimatter doesn't do. And it's all over the place. We have this huge epic explosion, and then we come back from a commercial break, and it's just some smoke coming out from the windows. I'm like, what? So the story was strange. I do like that they started out on Cybertron and Megatron because I love continuity. I love when they remember, oh yeah, Megatron was still on Cybertron at this time. And they didn't have to do it because they could have just said he was back and whatever. But that they went that little extra step, I give them credit for it. I think the episode is not as great as Vespor thinks. I think it's a little silly at times. Megatron's so obsessed over this antimatter and it really leads to nothing. I like the episode. I don't love it, but I'm going to give it 2.5. I think it's one of those episodes that's very stereotypical Transformers. Megatron has a plan. The Autobots keep on showing up to location to stop it. It all wraps up in a nice little bow at the end due to some convenient devices that are built, and they have to run away because that's it. So 2.5 stars, still a lot of fun. Definitely a must-see. This is a very typical Transformers episode. Funny for the wrong reasons, but still enjoyable to watch from start to finish.
Now that we've given our final thoughts, why don't you give us your final thoughts on this episode down in the comments section?
That's right, we want to hear from you. What did you guys think of Roll For It? Were we not nice enough? Were we too nice to it? And also, we want you to like and subscribe. That's very important too. We love the support here. It's been great. The feedback we've been getting has been overwhelming, and we'll keep doing this. We know you guys love this stuff. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and of course,
ring that bell.
And we'll see you all next time on Vesper's Retro Reviews. Thanks for joining us for another review of Transformers Generation 1.
All I'm going to say is, I want to be like Ratchet. I can be everywhere at once.
Yeah, he was here, he was there, he was there, he repaired it, and he didn't even know it. It was amazing. How did Ratchet...
I've memorized the formula, so once I rip this up, there's no way the Decepticons can learn to make the antimatter. You're too late, Ravage. The information's already been destroyed.